All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 85 of Pozios Picks. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over my favorite plays from this Week 10 college football slate. A lot of huge games on this slate. I cannot wait for the games this Saturday. A lot of games with some big playoff implications. So, without further ado, let's just get right into things. The first game I have on the slate, Texas Tech is going to TCU. TCU are 9.5-point favorites at home, and the total for this one is 69. TCU comes in at number 7 in the first college football playoff rankings, and they know they have to continue to impress if they have any hope of moving into that top 4. This TCU offense continues to hum coming into this one, averaging 44.3 points per game this season. Texas Tech, on the other hand, has had a bit of a roller coaster season this year, winning that big game against Texas, but after that, they have not been able to string multiple wins together. Texas Tech has looked okay in Big 12 play, and even against some of the bigger and better teams, they've been able to score some points. They are averaging almost 34 points per game this season, and with this TCU defense, they should be able to move the ball. This line just scares me because of the things I just said. Texas Tech has hung in some games, and they've covered some games against some of the better teams in the Big 12. So my play for this one is going to be the over. I'm going to buy a half point and take over 68.5 points. I think TCU is going to continue to do what they do. And if Texas Tech can hang around like they have and score some points on this weak TCU defense, we can really see a track meet in this one. So over 68.5 is going to be my play for this one. The next game on the slate, they keep making it back onto my card. Western Kentucky is going to Charlotte. I want to focus on the total in this one. Western Kentucky are big favorites on the road here, but the total for this one is 72. This is going to be a track meet flat out. This should be an absolute pleasure of a noon game to get us going on Saturday. The past couple weeks, we've bet on Charlotte, we've bet against Charlotte, we've bet on teams against them, their team total. Unfortunately, one of the sure things at the beginning of the season has now kind of turned on us, but I really love this play this week. Western Kentucky is one of the only teams in the country that still runs one of those true air raid offenses, and even though they've looked better, this Charlotte defense is still giving up over 500 yards per game. Western Kentucky is going to throw the ball all game long, and they should have no problem moving it down the field. Charlotte, on the other hand, last week, I don't know what it was, that offense looked unstoppable at Rice. They scored 56 points. The Charlotte offense has been good all year, but they look really good last week. They can score the ball. If they can get us just a few scores like they were able to last week, I don't see any way that this game stays under the total. Give me the over 72 all day long in this one, and I'm going to try it one more time. It was such a sure thing the first few weeks of the season. I'm going back to it here. Western Kentucky team total over 43.5. Charlotte just still gives up so many yards, and with the way Western Kentucky moves the ball, I think they'll get us to that number. So, over 72 for the game, and Western Kentucky team total over 43.5. Should be two really fun games to start our day off on Saturday. All right, now we're getting into the bread and butter of the game Saturday. Tennessee is going to Georgia to take on the Dogs. Georgia are 8-point favorites at home, and the total for this one is 66.5. This is going to be an awesome game. 1 versus 3 matchup in Georgia. SEC on CBS, the afternoon game. This feels like another instant classic waiting to happen. Now, getting into actually betting this game, I really don't know why Georgia are 8-point favorites, especially after losing linebacker Nolan Smith for the season. Looking at this line, it really makes me think that Vegas is begging you to take Tennessee. But I don't really care. The same thing happened with the Alabama game, and we all know how that turned out. I'm going to be all over Tennessee in this one for a very specific reason. The way that this offense operates, the speed that they move at, it's always going to keep them in a game. No matter how bad things get, they will always have a shot to bring it back, and having more than a touchdown of points to work with makes me very, very comfortable. They're the number one team in the country for a reason. Give me Tennessee +8 in this one. I love this number, and honestly, I would not be surprised if they keep it rolling and they're able to win this one as well. Tennessee +8 at Georgia. The next game I really like on the slate, not going to go too deep into this one. UTSA is going to UAB. Two completely different offenses clashing here. UTSA loves to throw the ball with quarterback Frank Harris, and they are very successful coming in at 6-2. UAB, on the other hand, leans on their running back, Dwayne McBride, who's number 2 in the country in rushing yards this season. This UTSA defense isn't great, but it's much better against the run than against the pass. And if they can string together some stops throughout the game, I think that air attack with Frank Harris and wide receiver DeCorian Clark, they're going to be able to ultimately win this one in the end. If UAB goes down early, it's going to be really tough for them to rely on the pass since they run the ball and focus on the run so much. For that reason, my play here is just going to be UTSA money line on the road at UAB. All right, another huge SEC matchup here. I am so excited for this one. Alabama are 13.5-point favorites going to LSU. The total in this one is 56.5. LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels has been playing out of his mind the last few games, and he currently leads LSU in passing and rushing yards. Alabama, on the other hand, responded to that Tennessee loss with a big-time win over Mississippi State, holding that air raid offense who looked unstoppable the weeks before to just 6 points. Interesting note, both of these teams are coming off of a bye as well. They're going to be fresh and ready to go, but I think there is one play that is clear in this game. In my opinion, that's Alabama to cover. Alabama sits at number 6 right now in the college football playoff rankings. This is a massive, massive week for those rankings, especially for the SEC with this game and with Tennessee, Georgia. Things can get shuffled around quickly, and if Alabama makes a statement here, I think they can easily make their way into that top 4. I think the extra time for Saban to prepare for LSU is going to be huge for Alabama. And if they can really figure out a way to slow down Daniels and limit him, especially on the ground, I think it could be a long day for LSU in Death Valley. We haven't really seen it at all this year, but I think Saturday is really when we see the absolute best from Alabama, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think they go into LSU and they win this game by a few scores. Give me Alabama to cover -13.5. The Tide rolls in Death Valley. The next game I want to go over, Texas is going to Kansas State. Kansas State are 2.5-point underdogs at home, and the total for this one is 54.5. Another one of these lines this week that just does not seem to make a lot of sense. Texas is coming off of a bye, but their last game they lost in overtime at Oklahoma State, and K-State is coming off of absolutely obliterating Oklahoma State at home, 48-0. Such a weird game last week. Like I said, Texas is coming off of a bye, so that is huge for them. They've had a lot of time to prepare, and more importantly, a lot of time to get healthier in that bye week. They were a bit banged up. I think this line is clearly telling you who to take, and I'm going to roll with Vegas here. I'm going to take the Longhorns. I'll take Texas money line on the road here. As long as Texas can slow down that run with Deuce Vaughn, and in turn they control the pace with Bijan Robinson, I really think that Texas can go in there and win this one easily. Also, Quinn Ewers hasn't really been fantastic since he came back from injury. With the bye week and some time to prepare, I think they look for a big game from him in this one. So, I'm going to roll with the Longhorns, roll with the line, taking Texas money line here. Next game on the slate, talk about another big game here, especially for playoff implications. Clemson are 3.5-point favorites going to Notre Dame at night. Clemson came in as the number 4 team in the college football playoff, and they know they cannot let their foot off the gas, because if they get caught slipping, there are a lot of other deserving teams waiting to get that number 4 spot. Clemson has not looked great the past couple games, but they found a way to get it done, and frankly, I think that's what's going to happen again in South Bend on Saturday night. They've got some factors against them in this one, obviously being on the road at Notre Dame at night. And then as of right now, it seems like it's going to be a bad weather game. Everyone knows that Notre Dame is one-dimensional. If Clemson can stop the run, which I think they should be able to do with that strong defensive line, I think they do enough to go into Notre Dame and win this one ugly. Give me Clemson money line on the road here. I think they survive another close one in South Bend. Next game on the slate I want to go over, Arizona is going to Utah. Utah are 17.5-point favorites, and the total is set at 68 for this one. I cannot wait for this game. Arizona USC last week was one of my favorite games of the day, and it was clear that this Arizona offense can hang with anybody in the Pac-12. Utah's coming off of a tough road game at Wazoo, and I know they are ready to break it back open at home. This Utah offense can really score some points, and especially if QB Cam Rising is back, they will be able to score at will against this Arizona defense. The Utah defense, even though they looked better last week, is still susceptible to big plays, and Arizona have no trouble creating some big plays. I think this can turn into a classic West Coast offense shootout, and we can cruise to this total no problem. Give me the over. I'll buy a half point. Over 67.5 in Salt Lake City for this one. The next game I want to go over, our last ranked matchup on the card. This one is very simple to me. Wake Forest -4 at NC State. I'm simply betting on experience in this one. Wake Forest is in a huge bounce back spot after getting smacked around by Louisville last week. And NC State is coming off barely squeaking out a win against Virginia Tech. Sam Hartman versus MJ Morris is what I'm betting on here. Experienced quarterback versus freshman quarterback. I think the experience of Hartman is really what helps Wake Forest get this one done on the road. Give me the Demon Deacons to bounce back here. I'm going to take Wake Forest -3 at NC State. The last game on the card for me here, UCLA are 11-point favorites on the road at Arizona State. Some late-night Pac-12 football. UCLA, after losing that big game to Oregon 2 weeks ago, really bounced back with a statement win against Stanford. This is still one of the better offensive attacks in the country, and against this lowly Arizona State squad, I think UCLA continues to flex a little bit. They still have a really good shot of being in the Pac-12 championship game, and I know that they want to control their own destiny. Arizona State allows almost 250 yards per game in the air, so I expect that connection between DTR and transfer wide receiver Jake Bobo to thrive in this one. Maybe a little sprinkle, Jake Bobo, anytime touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns even. I really, really like that play. I love UCLA by at least 2 scores here as well. Give me them to cover -11 on the road to round out the night. That is going to do it for this episode. Before we go, though, I just want to plug a few things. Number one, we dropped some new merch. We've seen some of you copping it. We really, really appreciate it. If you want to get some new merch, the link is down in the description below. We dropped hoodies, beanies, crew neck, sweatpants, all the essentials for fall. So go ahead and take a look down below. Cop some merch. We would really, really appreciate it. Also, be sure to follow us over on Pickett at Pozios Picks. You can see every single play that we take over on Pickett. We always add some plays come Saturday. So be sure to follow us there to see every single play we take. Also, use Pickett to automatically track your bets, see what people in the community are taking. It really is the best app if you are betting consistently to keep everything in order. When you sign up on Pickett, use our promo code POZIOSPICKS. You get either a $3 or a $100 sign-up bonus when you sign up. It goes right to your Venmo account. So be sure to do that. That's all I have for you guys. Good luck to everyone on your Saturday college football bets. And we will see you tomorrow for the NFL preview. Peace.